My name is Leonard Kessler. I track money for a living, so when my wife transferred $118,000 out of our savings during a yoga retreat, I didn't panic. I smiled, because while she was planning to leave me for her gym trainer, I was quietly building a legal firewall, shell companies, asset protections, divorce filings, ready to deploy. And her new boyfriend. He built his business with loans backed by my name. So I pulled the plug. Legally, quietly, completely. They thought they erased me. But all they did was trigger the trap I'd set years ago. 2:13 a.m. My phone buzzed with a high-priority fraud alert. $118,000 transferred from our joint savings account to Dana's personal one. 10 seconds later, a text from her. No greeting, no explanation. I've met someone better. I've moved your stuff to storage. Don't make this harder than it has to be. That was it. 15 years, gone in 2 lines and a screenshot. She was supposed to be on a wellness retreat in Palm Springs. Turns out she'd planned her exit down to the hour. What she didn't know was that I'd already prepared for this moment. I poured myself a cold cup of coffee, opened my laptop, and launched Sentinel, a private financial system I'd built years ago. Not for clients, for me. As a forensic accountant, I've seen what betrayal looks like in numbers long before it ever shows up in words. And Dana had been bleeding me slow, first in shopping sprees, then silent withdrawals. I said nothing, not because I didn't know, but because I wanted to see how far she'd go. Now I had my answer. I activated Contingency Protocol Zeta, a pre-programmed sequence Jason and I designed together. Jason's my brother, digital security expert. We'd always joked it was overkill. Now, it was my lifeline. Joint accounts frozen, credit cards locked, legal emergency flag triggered. I stared at the wedding photo still hanging by the door, the only picture left of both of us. I should have noticed that sooner. Then I messaged my attorney. Subject line, execute divorce filing. Dana thought she had the jump on me. She thought draining the account meant she'd won. She had no idea. She'd just opened a case file, and I was about to become the client. By sunrise, Dana had tried 3 more transfers. All failed. Thanks to the system I built, my own digital fortress, every joint asset she touched now bounced back like a rubber check. This wasn't luck. It was design. 6 years ago, during a quiet Christmas, I caught her first lie. She forgot my birthday, bought me an expensive watch the next day, and said, the studio's just been overwhelming. But I'd already seen a wire transfer labeled Iron Form Equipment. A gym outfitter, not a yoga vendor. I didn't say a word. That night, I created LC-1, the first of 4 shell companies. I opened crypto wallets, separated brokerage accounts, and built a private trust. Dana knew about our checking account, nothing else. As long as we're comfortable, I don't need the details, she used to say. Perfect. At 9 a.m., I called Jason. I need full recon on Trey Harmon. Business history, financial records, all legal. He's the one she left me for. On it, Jason said. Give me 2 hours. While he pulled digital threads, I reviewed the past year's flagged transactions. Dana hadn't just betrayed me emotionally. She'd been funding her next chapter with my money. Over $80,000 in quiet siphons, including 2 labeled business support. That business, Trey's gym. By noon, Jason sent over the file. Trey Harmon wasn't an entrepreneur. He was a poser with biceps and bounced checks. 3 credit cards maxed. A commercial lease already in default. Equipment financed with a $175,000 loan, co-signed by Dana. And here's the kicker. They used my marital status to qualify for better rates. My income, my tax records, my life. They built his gym with my foundation, without my consent. That afternoon, I filed for emergency asset protection. Dana didn't know it yet, but she'd already lost access to everything. Trey didn't know it yet, but his empire was built on a ticking clock. And I was just getting started. Harmon Fitness looked exactly how I imagined. All mirrors and muscle, sleek logo, shiny equipment, empty soul. I walked through the glass doors without a word. Influencers posed in the corners. Employees glanced up. Nobody stopped me. Trey spotted me instantly. He smiled. Too polished, too confident. Leonard, right? Dana mentioned you. Man, I know this is awkward. We need to talk, privately. His smile cracked. He led me to a glass-walled office. Frosted doors, soundproof, the illusion of privacy. I dropped a folder on his desk. Clean, precise, heavy. These are every document you and Dana co-signed using my marital assets. Loans, leases, credit cards, all of it. Trey flipped through the pages. His tan faded by the minute. This isn't... Dana told me you were separating. That she had access. She didn't. Not legally, not ethically, and certainly not anymore. He looked up. What do you want? Nothing from you, I said. The banks already have this folder. They'll be calling soon. Trey tried to compose himself. Look, we're building something. I didn't know. You're not building. You're borrowing. And now the guarantees are void. Everything you're standing on is about to collapse. I turned to leave, then paused at the door. One more thing. When Dana moved out, she took personal property, things that mattered to me, family heirlooms, photos, my father's watch. I want them back. He stared at me. No smirk, no spin, just the look of a man realizing the ground under his feet was borrowed. I'll see what I can do, he muttered. The next morning, a box arrived at my hotel. Inside, the watch, the photos, my mother's letters. No note, just silence. But I understood what it meant. He knew. And now Dana would too. Because this wasn't about rage. It was about leverage. And the audit was far from over. 3 days later, Dana showed up at my office. Hair done. Designer outfit. The same confident smile she wore to every dinner party she didn't pay for. Leonard, the banks made a mistake. Our accounts. Not a mistake, I interrupted. They froze everything because you triggered a fraud investigation. She laughed, too loud. I'm your wife. Not anymore. You forged my signature, co-signed loans with my name, moved money behind my back. That's not marriage. That's misconduct. Her voice dropped. I have commitments. Trey's business is expanding. I put deposits down. Then you'll learn what it feels like to default. She stepped closer. I deserve half of everything. You'll get exactly half of what's left in the joint account, which you already drained. Her expression changed. For the first time, she looked like she realized what this actually was. A war she had already lost. That afternoon, Dana's attorney sent a letter demanding full financial disclosure, threatened to expose hidden assets if I didn't comply. I forwarded it to my attorney with 2 words: proceed aggressively. At the court-ordered mediation, Dana arrived visibly shaken. No tan, no ring, no Trey. Her lawyer opened with a tired pitch. My client is willing to negotiate. She's under extreme financial strain. My attorney slid a document across the table. This is a completed fraud investigation. Dana forged documents. The bank is referring this to the district attorney. She could face charges unless we settle. Dana's hands trembled as she signed the agreement. No alimony. No access to my LLCs, and every debt tied to Trey. Hers alone. As we walked out, she stopped me. You were never like this. You just used to go along with everything. That was my mistake. I left her standing in that beige hallway, alone, stripped of leverage, stripped of lies, and outside, the air had never felt lighter. 2 weeks after mediation, a plain box arrived at my door. No note, no return address. Inside, my father's watch, ticking steadily, a stack of old family photos, 2 handwritten letters from my mother I thought were long gone. Dana had returned them, not as an apology. She never sent one, but as a final surrender. I sat on the porch that evening, bourbon in hand, and opened one of my mother's letters. Her handwriting curved gently across the yellowed paper. Be proud of what you build, but protect it. Not everyone who stands next to you wants to help hold it up. She'd written that years ago, and I finally understood it. I didn't feel triumphant. I didn't feel cold. I felt free. There were no more bank alerts, no more sleepless nights or forced smiles at her dinner parties. Just me, in a house I owned, in a quiet I finally trusted. I never heard from Trey again. Last I checked, the gym had been seized and sold. He resurfaced months later in Miami, pitching another fitness brand. Dana's name was nowhere in sight. As for her, mutual friends said she moved to Colorado. Smaller place, less glam, lots of motivational quotes on Instagram. But I didn't follow. I didn't need to. My house wasn't big. It didn't have luxury lighting or custom tile. But I built the cabinets with my brother, restored the windows myself, filled the shelves with books I actually read. It was a life, not a showroom. Sometimes people ask me how I handled it so calmly. The betrayal, the theft, the lies. My answer is simple. She planned an escape. I built a defense, and when it was time to choose, she ran toward a fantasy. I stood exactly where I was and took everything back. I took 2 weeks off. No courtrooms, no spreadsheets, no damage control. Just me, a truck full of tools, and the long road north. The cabin sat quiet at the edge of Lake Vermilion, the same place my father used to bring me as a boy. It was still standing, still solid, just like the man who built it. Inside, the floors creaked in all the right places. There was dust on the shelves, cobwebs in the corners, and peace in the air. I fished in the mornings, read old books in the afternoons, chopped wood in the evening, cooked over flame, and let the quiet do its work. It wasn't silence that filled me. It was stillness, the kind you can't find when you're performing for someone else's comfort. On the third night, I found a folded note in the back of the drawer beside my father's cot, addressed to me. His handwriting was rough, careful. Son, if you're reading this, you made it out. Good. Maybe someone let you down. Maybe it hurt like hell. But I hope you didn't forget who you are. A man isn't just what he builds. He's what he protects. I read it 3 times. Then I carved those words into a piece of cedar from the old dock, hung it by the cabin door. Protect, rebuild, live better. When I returned to the city, I didn't go back to the man I was. I didn't follow Dana's profile, didn't check on Trey, didn't explain myself to anyone who'd chosen not to ask what really happened. Instead, I started something new, a small side project, workshops for people navigating financial abuse, quiet rooms, open ledgers, no judgment. I never mentioned my own story. I didn't need to. The truth was still mine. One evening, Jason stopped by. We drank coffee on the porch as the streetlights blinked on. She never saw you coming, he said. That was the point, I replied. You ever regret not burying them further? I smiled. They buried themselves. I just filed the paperwork. I don't believe in happy endings. I believe in earned peace, in not ignoring the signs, in knowing the difference between a partner and a parasite. So no, I didn't rebuild my marriage. I rebuilt myself. And this time, I wrote the blueprint. I laid the foundation. And I locked the door.